I'm going to show you a shockingly good method of writing assignments, but before we hear from these students and how they transform their grades, let's reveal the biggest problem you have with assignments right now, which is the fourth link in the chain, writing the assignment. What does it mean that your essays have to have the most citations, interesting sources, best examples, or all of these things? Well, actually, it's not just any one of them. It's actually all of them knitted together, because the best assignments are those that deliver on everything, on all the links. And this is why your essay will lose marks, because in order to answer the assignment question that will get you the high mark, first of all, you have to look at these elements of the chain. These other 4 sections of the chain have to be your main focus before you can write and submit the best possible essay. Isn't that right, Elio? Now you're probably wondering what those sections of the chain are. So let me reveal the first one to you, and this is the most important one. It's about what I call conceiving. This is a stage where you are initially understanding what the assignment is about. And this is where students can sometimes go horribly wrong and make big mistakes that can be fatal to their mark, because they're rushing in and they're not focusing enough on conceiving the actual assignment. But how do you actually work out the conceiving? You go to the second link of the chain. Now, if you want to transform your mark for your next assignment, then start putting time into the researching stage and looking for connections between articles and studies. Complete nightmare, I know, there's so much information out there for you. I noticed the difference when students introduce attention to this stage. For example, when this student wrote their first year essay, they got a mark in the 40s, but after coaching at the research stage, they got awarded a first and a mark in the 70s in the first category in their second year module. Did putting time into the research stage make a big difference to your mark?
Yes, it really helped. By putting in a lot of hard effort into the research stage and finding good quality articles, it really helped me with writing.
There you go. So the first step is to have an idea, and this is founded on the initial sources that you found when you're scoping out. Then perhaps you've got an essay title, something like "How do leaders use culture to create followers?" And so to answer this, you might have found and scoped out several sources on the theme of symbolism to help answer a paragraph on this question. Now the trick is then to migrate these over to your actual assignment, and here then this is where you would carve out a critical dialogue across the page, and you're just trying to form connections between these sources, the however moments, therefore, and to show progression and development across the paragraph. But a warning, be very careful, because a lot of students don't put the effort in this link of the chain when they're assembling and doing the research stage and phase of the writing process. And therefore, when they get to this stage here, these sources are poor, they're not academic enough, or maybe there's not enough of them. When this transition comes over to the page then, whatever you do here is going to be discounted because of what's lacking here. And so you can't have the academic development, the full discussion, because of a mistake or lack of effort at this important stage. And to help you solve this danger, this is a big secret that I'll tell you from someone who has marked over 10,000 essays. And I've got the wrinkles to prove it, haven't I, Elio? When I'm marking, I'm often looking for conjunctive adverbs to signal to me that the student is doing more than mere description. But what do I mean by conjunctive adverbs? Conjunctive adverbs are the bridgeway between our conversations and essays. They perform and demonstrate that you're doing critical dialogue because they are linking sentences together and forming discussion. What I recommend to my students then is to form lists of these adverbs, and then we're going to be using these as the tools to demonstrate discussion. And also then start to list your studies and then start to draw links. How might these be connected consequently? Or is there a moreover connection between these two? Then you are showing high-level scholastic discussion. Now, this is something that my students have massively benefited from understanding. And this is Annabelle. And Annabelle is now doing a master's, but I taught her an undergraduate and supervised her on a dissertation, for which, round of applause, Annabelle, she achieved the highest ever mark in the school for doing a dissertation. So perhaps it'd be really worthwhile if you could say something to the students. What did you think?
Thanks, Mark. Learning to do the research and assemble articles before the writing stage massively improved my marks and how I completed my assignments. What made a difference was thinking about the however moments, looking at the articles and seeing how they relate using different conjunctive adverbs as keystones and the sources as the building blocks.
Thanks, Annabelle, really appreciate it. She really was one of the best students ever. Which brings us on to the link most students focus all of their energy on. And I'll admit, I used to do just the same and get so stressed out and pull my hair out because of the anxiety of trying to do it all at once. And that is the fourth link in the chain, writing. And as I said at the start, this should be a byproduct of all of the other links. It is where most of the stress and anxiety is caused because we often try and do too much at this stage and we lack the work that should have gone on in the previous stages. Writing might take you a few hours, it might take you a few weeks, but when you have taken the time to put effort into the chain, for many of us, including myself when writing, it is actually one of the shortest parts of the process. You are simply editing and joining things together. Apart from referencing, that's a complete nightmare, and checking it all and actually doing the editing at the end and then handing it in. Many of you won't do this final part, and many of you will be perhaps doing far too much of it in terms of overthinking. This is the final part of the chain, reacting. And when you focus on it, it will ensure that every time you repeat this whole process and do the next assignment, you get better and better. Here, you have to use the feedback you receive to work out what your professor or marker thought of your essay. This is so important. And examine the rubrics of the marking criteria. How was your presentation? Did you do a good job of your referencing, use of sources, argumentation, structure? These are all the really important things. So we can think about how you need to go and get additional feedback, not just from your friends, but from other students. And if you did it badly, just ask why and react to this. The next time you're going to get a better mark. Reacting is so important. Last year, I revisited constructive comments I had given to students on their first year assignments, and just to see if they were repeating some of these mistakes over and over again. And you know what? It was sad to see that they actually were. They'd not taken enough notice of what the feedback was trying to suggest to do. So this is why it's so important, because if you don't react and if you don't make the changes, then you're just going to repeat the same mistakes. And if you have done well, then understand how and build on it. This is about working smarter across all parts of the chain, not just putting in the pain and pulling all-nighters at the computer at the end and repeating the same mistake. Just remember, if you're not hitting each of the 5 parts of the chain, you're not going to improve and move the mark to what your efforts deserve. And don't ignore this video here. This is going to fix your motivation to read at the writing stage too. It's so important when you're researching. And also it features my dog in reading glasses.